Welcome back to my watercolor channel. So today what I'm going to be doing is, it's going to be a bit of a two-parter. Now I've tracked down an image on Pixabay, a great source of reference images for inspiration. Now this particular image is of a canal scene in Venice, and it's an image that I really wanted to tackle, really wanting to try and take into account all the things that I've been learning about recently, and a way of transitioning into a more loose style, impressionistic style of painting, around finding that big shape, putting the washes down, considering cool, warm tones, preserving my highlights, and just really wanting to develop that skill set of mine. So it's going to be an ongoing focus. So I've decided to split the video into two, only because I wanted to probably focus on the drawing aspect first, and just explain my thinking. Now, in no way am I going to be using this resource for teaching purposes. You can watch and take what you can from it. I'll explain and talk through my own thinking as I progress through, so you'll be able to make up your own mind as to how you go and what you utilize in that. Well, let's get into it, shall we? So right off the bat, I've got my phone. Geez, I wish I had something a little bit bigger to use for my source. But at the end of the day, it's about scale, and I'm not going to have to amend it too much with the watercolor pad that I have in landscape. Now, it's an Arches watercolor pad, 300 gram. Cold pressed paper. So you'll see I'm using my pencil really just on the image, just to get my angles and just transfer those angles across. I just find that quite useful, just to really to help me maintain correct perspective. Now I really like the layout of this image, and I don't change too much of it. Kept the sky very basic, kept the detail to a minimum. I feel that in my end painting, which you'll see in the second video, I probably maybe overworked it a little bit, but it's one that I'm very happy with, and with how it turned out. So right now I'm just sort of counting the tiers. I'm wanting to get approximate proportions correct for the segments of that building. Breaking it up, then I'll start drawing in my arches. Just putting in light strokes to begin with. With those light strokes, I'm able to go back in with rubber if required. Now, just trying to think about what, I suppose, a window arch looks like as it does extend into the distance. You're going to be a lot skinnier. So thinking about when you are drawing in window arches or windows in general, perspective is going to play a very important role. And the further away, the skinnier they're going to look. You're going to probably hear my family in the background today. So again, you're just going to have to deal with a little bit of background sound if it comes up every now and then. So probably just then I spotted I made the decision to include the small terraces, balconies. Now I've increased the speed of the drawing, so it's double the speed, twice the speed. It took me 20 minutes in total, and I thought 10-minute video is going to be Now going back in, I probably should have studied those balconies a little bit more. Very rough. I probably had no real plan on how I was going to tackle those in the painting. Now, I don't like to get too serious. There'll probably be one day I'm going to get there and create quite a number of studies and different elements, and really plan my paintings. But at the moment, again, I'm learning, and it's just a process of discovery. That's all. So just going down, using what I'm doing now, just a moment ago there, I'll use each building to identify where the next one begins, and keeping my eye on perspective, slowly work my way down the line of buildings as they progress down the canal. Now, it doesn't matter if it's not 100% correct in terms of roofs. Again, it's just in terms of from the reference image. I wasn't too concerned there. Just as long as you maintain perspective and that it actually, architecturally, it looks like it should be there. That's all good. Putting in the bridge. Now I've entered in those vertical lines just so I can sort of make sure that I keep the vertical elements of the canal and they actually don't slope or lean. Coming in from the other side now, again using my pencil to identify the angle that it was going to be coming down on. Halfway through the drawing now. Now, you could argue, did I do a little bit too much detail? I definitely knew from my exploration around what the main shape was, and this, could I have entered in too much detail, and that's caused me not to be as loose as I wanted to be. I'm not sure. I don't think I am. I think it's quite a complex scene, and it is important that I identify the different buildings separate from one another. I think that was really key for where I'm at. The changes in colour, temperature from each building. I think that was quite important to do that. So I'm actually not really regretting the detail that I'm putting in and the effort I'm putting into my pencil drawing, my initial sketch. So I'm beginning with that front boat. Now I did try and begin with the back boat, but I realised then that, really I should be starting at the front and working my way back, as each boat is technically or a little bit hidden by the one in front. So starting with that front boat, it's going to make things a lot easier. I love the way the pylons are all tilted from the, I'm not sure, I'm assuming it'd just be the overuse over time of the boats mooring up against them, making them and leaning them over. I think they add a really nice element to the picture. Very quick sketch of the railings on the right hand or left hand side. I took a little bit more care with the railings on the right. So now just developing the buildings on the left-hand side. Really relying on my reference image here just to get these lines and shapes in. It's quite a cloudy day here today, so there's a lot of colour change in the room at the moment. So now my distant skyline there, keeping that very, very bare. It'll just be some cool tones, cool blues, greys that will represent that. Just putting in these distant buildings. It's funny watching this a second time, my actual image, the sketch that I drew, and thinking back and reflecting on the actual painting process itself, how many things that I neglected or I wasn't overly careful with. One of the things that I hadn't planned or really thought out before is the buildings behind the bridge in the distance. Now I've darkened them up quite substantially due to overwork, and yeah, just looking back at it now, I would have tackled that a lot differently, and I would have used them as highlights where similar to there's some main highlights that are capturing the tops of the buildings on the right hand side. Now I would have had those back buildings illuminated with that golden yellow, but yeah, oh well, that's okay. So really just using my angles here of perspective and the vanishing points on the buildings just to really help lead the eye in. And I've kept those in and used my brush and brush strokes on those vanishing point lines that will disappear to the vanishing point, just to help lead the eye into the image. Now, paying careful attention here, I've decided just to put in that little stairwell, or there's a staircase that leads down into the water. So what I'm doing now is putting in the posts. Now you notice as the posts get further away, where perspective is concerned, they nearly join up into one solid shape instead of being separate. There's so many elements to perspective that you really do need to pay attention to and really study the image that you're wanting to replicate. So you can see there now that I've on my phone, I've actually done a little bit of I'm not sure what you would call a bit of a conversion to identify the lights and darks and the main shapes of the image. Zooming in there just to get the detail of that chimney. And now I'm just going to be entering a couple of little finer details, just some aerials on a few of the buildings. There are quite a lot of aerials which I did not include all, just a couple. And that's going to be my initial sketch. So the next video, you'll be watching me do the painting, and yeah, come along and hit that like and subscribe, and yeah, see you soon.